Welcome into the Skinny Podcast. It's the weekly Potpourri edition. I'm Richard Skinner, Local12.com digital sports columnist and editor with Rick Broering. As always, it's presented by Blake, the attorney Mason. We got some Bengals to get into, some Reds to get into, a little college basketball to get into, and we may even venture off into a college football / NFL. I think there's a question and ask anything about that. So we'll get to a lot of stuff. We got a lot of Bengals to get to, Rick, so let's get to it.
Yeah, let's jump right in. We'll start with the Cordell Volson news, Skinny. We've talked a lot about the offensive line over the last few weeks, and then we get news this week that Cordell Volson will likely miss the season due to his shoulder injury. Where does this leave the Bengals on the offensive line? Do they have to go out and get a Dalton Reisner who they brought in this week, or what's your opinion on this whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, they've kicked the tires. I mean, Dalton Reisner is not going to come here without some level of belief he's going to start. So I don't know. And I just don't know what's left in that tank. I mean, the guy's been sitting out there all off season, and here we are just before the season. You know, look, the Bengals aren't the only team in the NFL that need help on the offensive line, right? So if this guy could really help some teams, and maybe his asking price is just too high for everybody at the moment to say, nope, come back when you've tested other markets and you know, we'll see where the price settles then. I mean, this would feel like very desperate times to do something like that, to pick up somebody off the street basically 2 weeks before your season starts, even as a depth piece. But that may be where we're at. I mean, maybe after cutdown day, they find an offensive guard particularly to fill in there. I think in the short term, I think they're okay. You know, Cody Ford can play guard, you know, but the problem is Cody Ford is also going to probably be the backup swing tackle. So what happens if on a week where, you know, Amarius Mims is down or Orlando Brown Jr. is down and Cody has to start, then who becomes the backup guard? Is it Jackson Kirkland? Is it Andrew Stuber? I mean, they're in a tough spot because as much as Cordell Volson fell out of favor last year, dude started 48 games over the last 3 years. I mean, he has starting experience in the NFL. He's been serviceable at times. And I think that's a nice depth piece to have that now you don't have. So the guard spot's gotten awful thin awful quickly.
This offensive line was already.
Well, I forgot. And Jalen Rivers, the rookie. But do you really want to get to the point where you're starting two rookie guards?
I mean, how's Joe Burrow going to feel about that?
Yeah,
like he's going to be taking you seriously at that point. This offensive line was already pretty poor, I would say. I mean, below average is like a best case scenario you could give them based on what they were coming into the year with. If you're saying they're okay, they can get by right now, I think that's the starting point for them. Are they one injury away from being a complete disaster here?
To answer your question, yeah. I mean, again, go back to the scenario I laid out. I mean, neither Orlando Brown Jr. nor Amarius Mims started every game last year. They both missed a chunk. I think Amarius missed 4. One of those he missed. Trent Brown started 4 in place of him. So I guess he missed 3 for injury's sake. And Orlando missed 6, I believe, for injuries. And, you know, he's not getting any younger. So can I count on 34 starts from those two guys? Probably not. So that means Cody Ford's probably going to have to make a handful of starts at the tackle spot. So let's just say he does. And then let's just say Lucas Patrick's either a dud or he gets hurt, or Dylan Fairchild gets hurt. Then who's going to start at guard? I mean, you can put the rookie in there. Again, you're going to have 2 rookie guards in there. And how about a scenario where you'd have 2 rookie guards and Cody Ford having to play a tackle spot in a given week? That doesn't sound very promising, does it?
Not great, especially when, again, you've got the entire franchise back there behind them that you're trying to protect. That doesn't seem ideal.
No, the one thing, and you've mentioned it before too, and it is worth bringing up. I mean, that Super Bowl offensive line was not very good, and they still went to the Super Bowl. The offensive line next year was banged up. Remember, that was the Jackson Carman starting in the playoffs. They had 2 or 3 guys down, and that team got to the championship game and was a couple of plays away from maybe going to a second straight Super Bowl. So they found ways to work around this.
No, that's a great point. I mean, that's something I always do come back to, when, especially in the offseason, when we're talking about where do you invest your money and your draft capital and all of that. I do always look at like the 2 years where they've had their most success in recent history were years that they had really bad offensive lines. So it's a great point to remember, but at the same time, it's definitely concerning going into the year. And it makes it even more concerning, Skinny, when Joe Burrow is back there holding onto the ball in preseason games, patting it, scrambling around, rolling all over the place and taking big sacks. Here's my question about that. We saw the couple of big hits that he took in this game. Can Joe Burrow be trusted to play in the preseason?
That's a great question. I will say, I thought Zach had a pretty interesting comment in that regard yesterday. Like, you know, he goes, I've learned I can't live in fear. Like, I can't live in the fear of if these guys go out there and play, that they're going to get hurt. And for Joe wants to feel football. I know fans hate it. That play, I guarantee everybody was gasping, and probably even some people were shrieking as he's running around like a crazy man back there. He needs to be smarter in that regard. Hey, man, preseason, just throw it away. I know you want to feel that feeling and what it's like to maybe make an unscripted play. I thought Zach made a good point. He said it was a great teaching moment for us on tape in a lot of ways. Like, I know everybody's making fun of Lucas Patrick where he kind of puts his arms up to block, but the point he made is you can't do blindside blocks or it's a penalty. So, he's trying to at least screen a guy. I know everybody's kind of making fun of that because Lucas Patrick's an easy punching bag at the moment. But then he also talked about, you can't see it like we saw on film downfield where we showed guys in that scramble drill. There's some scramble rules that they need to do better at. So again, it was an awful rep to watch in the moment, but I think for Zach and maybe for Joe Burrow, it was a great learning rep too.
Yeah, I don't think fans care at all about them having a great learning rep in that situation when they see him grabbed by his shoulder pad, slung like a rag doll and thrown on top of his head. It's just like, Joe, it's great to feel like you can take a hit and all that stuff, but when you're letting guys get their paws on you like that and they weigh 375 pounds and they're just throwing you whichever way they want, there's way too much potential for you to, dislocate something or something to pop out of place. It's too dangerous. You cannot have that happening.
The preseason should be, Joe, if you have to move outside the pocket at any time, throw it away. We're done. We're done with that play.
Exactly. That's the whole thing. I mean, I get it. I love Joe Burrow for his ability to do all that stuff, but not in the preseason, man. And look, if it's like you want to go a little bit unscripted, you want to scramble out where you can see everything, but once you start doubling back, spinning around multiple times, and you've still not thrown the ball away, it's like, but not to mention you turn back and you see Orlando Brown completely quit on the play. He's just standing around already. Waiting around at that point, not even helping you out. Just get rid of the damn ball.
Well, and that was another point I think Zach made too, is the offensive lineman, I think, thought Joe was taking off downfield, right? Like he was already past them, and then he doubles back, and you're kind of, as a lineman, you are kind of screwed at that point. You're thinking he's gone, and then all of a sudden he comes doubling back. It's like, wait a minute, where are you coming from? And again, I know the Lucas Patrick one looks funny, right? Because he puts his arms up like, I can't hit you. Well, he can't. Yeah. I mean, it's a blindside block potential, so he did the right thing.
But Orlando Brown had the ability. Joe came all the way back in. He was like in the middle of the field. He had the potential to see it and get over there. And at least, honestly, I would gladly take a blindside block penalty in that case if Joe Burrow doesn't get thrown to the ground like a ragdoll. I don't care about penalties. Protect Joe Burrow.
Back to your initial point. Get rid of the football, Junior.
But yeah. I mean, Joe's just got to throw the ball away. And again, I get him wanting to play in preseason. I get him wanting to feel this stuff. All of that is well and good. But if he's going to do this stuff, I mean, this might be a situation where you have to protect him from himself, honestly.
Yeah, maybe. But again, he got through it. He's not going to play in the preseason finale. He got exactly what he wanted out of it. And I think you'll see a Joe Burrow who hits the ground fully running when they open in Cleveland.
So you kind of had this two sides to the first two preseason games. The offense looking sharp, scoring, the defense really struggling. And so that's kind of been the narrative. Let me ask you this, though. How different would we feel about all of this? How doom and gloom would things be had the two opening drives in each game stalled out right away? Because if you remember, they had the third and long completion to get them on the first game. And then the second game, they went to fourth down and drew an offsides penalty to keep that first drive alive. If both of those flame out, and again, that's a big if because they didn't, they went on to score touchdowns. But if you don't have those opening drives for touchdowns, they go 3 and out, let's say. How different do we feel about all of this?
Oh, a lot different. But to your point, they didn't. And you do have to convert third downs and probably some fourth downs in the season, right? So they did that. And I think that's a good thing. You get a little bit of test of, hey, got a third and long, need to convert. They did. Fourth down, get a free play or a guy jumping off sides. Okay, I know your point, but again, you're going to face these moments in the season too. So you passed them in the regular season, in the preseason.
Yeah, and I don't know that there's really a point there necessarily. It's just, it's what we always talk about football being a game of inches and this play or that play. And it's like, really, you look at those two opening drives, and granted, there's a bunch of plays they went on to make right after that they scored touchdowns off of. Yeah. So like, they look sharp. I'm not trying to take anything away from them in that regard, but it is amazing how bad all of this would feel and how negative the narrative would be around the Bengals right now had they not decided to go for it on that fourth down and draw somebody off sides, or had they not been able to complete that long third down completion and keep that drive alive. It's just interesting to think about.
Yeah, and the narrative now is how many 45, 42 games are they going to have to win, right? That's literally the narrative coming out of this.
Yeah, and instead it would be, oh, this is going to be a disaster. They're wasting Joe Burrow's prime years, all of that stuff. So we got at least
you've seen the national media jump on that already.
Yep. I've seen a little bit of that on the ESPN shows, but I mean, you always take that with a grain of salt. But I mean, to be fair, if we get through the first couple of weeks and the Bengals are struggling again, that's exactly what the narrative is going to turn to very quickly. So, Mitchell Tinsley, we got to talk about him briefly. I know everyone's kind of talked about him already since his performance in that game, but he looked incredible on Monday. We've heard from you guys, the reporters, the coaching staff, Joe Burrow, and even Joe Burrow after this game or during this game on the sideline when he talked to the TV reporters. Everyone's been talking about Mitchell Tinsley making plays and looking legit in training camp. It's easy to get excited about wide receivers this time of year, and it usually doesn't amount to anything when they're that far down the depth chart. But is this guy potentially different? I mean, he looks pretty special in terms of his athletic ability and hands and ability to contort his body and make catches.
Yeah, I mean, he's done that all camp. In fact, the last practice before this game, they were doing, it was kind of a light practice, but they were doing 2-minute drill, both the first team and second team. And he was with the second team and Jake Browning. And Jake's group, they had like fourth and 15 back on their own, like 20 or 25, but they're doing a 2-minute drill, right? And you're behind, and so you're going to go for it. And so Jake does get a guy to jump offside, so he's got a free play, so he just winds up and throws it as far as he can throw it. There's two safeties right in between Mitchell Tinsley. He goes up between both of them and snags it. I mean, what you saw on Monday night is what we've seen a bunch in training camp, him making contested catches, back shoulder catches. He's done literally everything. I really didn't know much about him until maybe a week or so into camp. I started reading out like, oh, yeah, they signed this guy back in February. In fact, I don't even know if Zach Taylor knew who he was. I don't. I think he and no offense. I mean, knowing 90 guys, right, that right. Sometimes can be hard. I mean, I have that fault early, and like we have freshmen that come the next year to play JV or whatever. I have a hard time sometimes remembering their names. And so sometimes you'll just go, yeah, 82 is a good player. I don't think he even knew who he was for a while. He knows him now. And when Joe Burrow has publicly called you out in a press conference like he did a couple of weeks ago, then he backs him again the other night after the game when somebody asked, you think he's made it? I sure hope so, said Burrow. And Zach Taylor's had praise about him going about his business. And then you see what you saw. I mean, those are always great camp stories. I think he's going to make the team. I don't even think there's a doubt. In fact, there's a part of me that would be surprised if he even played in the preseason finale.
I mean, if you were to not keep him, someone's signing him. Absolutely. Someone's going to take a chance on that guy, given what he's shown.
So here's the thing, and I had to shoot everybody down on this one. Everybody on the beat was talking about, maybe you could get something from Trey. I'm like, nobody's going to give you anything from Mitchell
trading for Mitchell Tinsley.
Give me a break. I like him. I'm glad he's done what he's done. And listen, I think he makes this team. I think he is probably their third or fourth best wide receiver. The problem comes into special teams play, though, so maybe he's not active on some game days unless somebody else is hurt. But, I mean, he's done this all camp long where I don't think it's a fluke any longer. You're like, this guy's maybe legit. Now, you also can look back and go, well, he spent 2 years in Washington and played 2 games.
I think Joe Burrow, during a sideline interview as the game was still going on, I think he actually said, he solidified his spot.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I love when Joe Burrow just goes into full GM mode and starts speaking for the entire organization. That's the best.
GM Joe has his back on this one.
Yeah, I liked that. So, I mean, those are just the fun stories that come out of camp. Those are like when you all want that guy to be what you think he can be or show that potential. When they get to do it in a game like that, and it's like, okay, this guy might have really made the team now. That's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, it was coming off that practice where not only had the catch I described from Jake Browning, he had another one that was really contested along the sidelines. You're like, daggone. And then all of a sudden he does all that same stuff in the game. You're like, I mean, what has this guy not done to make the team?
Yeah. I mean, Kelly Washington is probably my favorite Bengal of all time. I've got high hopes for Mitchell Tinsley of becoming one of those like cult heroes for me.
Funny thing is, a bunch of us talked to him yesterday after practice, and I liked him. I mean, he was very well spoken and all that, but he wasn't overly interesting. So I'm going to transcribe his quotes and write a story on it today, and I'm going to try to go, what was interesting about what he said? I mean, he was just very matter of fact, which was all good. I get it. He wasn't trying to put the cart before the horse or any of those things, but yeah, he's not quite the kid. He doesn't have the squirrel like Kelly Washington had.
The squirrel was a beaut. Before we get to the Trey Hendrickson update and whatever else you've got on him, or is there anything else coming out of this preseason game or this week of training camp? What's up right now with the Bengals that you want to talk about?
I think it's fair, the criticism being leveled at the defense at the moment, but I also think it's just pump the brakes a little bit. I get, everybody talks about being vanilla. I think you're going to see a lot of blitzing from Al Golden. You haven't seen any of that so far. The thing that's been disturbing has been, Demetrius Knight going to the wrong areas. defensive linemen getting pushed off the point of attack. I mean, getting pushed off the point of attack to me isn't overly fixable. Some of the other things, run fits and gap integrity, all those things, those are all fixable things. But getting pushed around at the point of attack, and again, this isn't like you had a defense that did some good things last year, so we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. No, this is a defense that earns no benefit of the doubt until they prove otherwise.
Yeah, and like Demetrius Knight, as much as everyone loves him, it just worries. Anytime you have a rookie out there starting in the NFL, it's a concern because they're going to be out of position. They're going to miss some things. It's going to be new. They're not going to be as big, tough, strong as seasoned veterans have been doing this forever. That it's just new. And you also have a guy in his case who is known for his intangibles, his leadership, his IQ, not necessarily being like a freak producer on the field. So if he's a half step or step slower than everyone to begin with, and he's relying on being smart, savvy, all of those things, and he's a rookie trying to play in the NFL where your smarts and your savviness isn't up to speed yet, I mean, I think you could really be worse at the linebacker position again. And it goes back to what we've talked about this offseason. You didn't really upgrade any of your positions that needed upgrade. You got younger guys at those positions is what you got.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And I will say, I mean, if Demetrius struggles when the games become real, you do have a veteran in Oren Burks you can turn to and maybe slow some things down for Demetrius. Or maybe Demetrius maybe we're making so much out of a small sample size of snaps for these guys that, maybe in game situations they make adjustments and settle in.
Is there any chance Barrett Carter's in that conversation?
I think he has to be. There's no question. But I don't think – I guess it could be for Knight. I mean, it's always felt like he's kind of Logan Wilson's guy to eventually replace, and you're certainly not going to start two rookies together. I mean, Logan has not looked great.
That's the other thing is Logan Wilson lost it all of a sudden too.
Yeah, and I think that's the fear you run into with this.
Yeah, everyone's concerned about the defense. I think those concerns are very legitimate.
I do too.
So the other big piece there is Trey Hendrickson. There was another report out there this week. It feels like this isn't anything new. It feels like there's not much new to say about this. It feels like we're still coming right down to the start of the season or the few days right before that, and then we'll find out how real this is in terms of him sitting out. What's your read on the latest?
I think he signs on September 2nd. I think both sides eventually give enough, give a little. Maybe, again, they don't give him the guaranteed money after year one, but sweeten the signing bonus a little bit more, and then you can prorate it over the life of the contract. Trey made a point that the length of contract extension and the dollar amount is satisfying. It's the amount of guaranteed money. I don't think the Bengals are going to budge a ton on that, but I think like they did with Shamar Stewart, right? They gave him an extra $500,000 in signing bonus money up front, and he signed. It's going to take a little more than that to get Trey Hendrickson signed, but I think you'll see both sides budge enough that come that Tuesday, the day after Labor Day, that Tuesday before the opener, he is signed, he's in camp, and he's in practice and gets a handful of practices in before that opener.
The latest this week that came back up in terms of story was the trade rumors again of him being out there. Do you think there's any realistic possibility there's a trade worked out, or is the Bengals intentionally asking for way too much so that it won't happen?
I think they're intentionally asking for way too much, but I don't blame them for that. I really
they should
don't.
be. But they're not realistically looking for a trade, right?
No, that's the funny part to this is this had to have come from another general manager in the league who had called the Bengals and the Bengals took their call. That's my opinion on where this came from. That somebody else said, yeah, the Bengals are taking calls. Well, sure, they've never stopped. I mean, their phones are always going to be working. They're always going to take calls. I don't know how this became a story again because I'm sure they've always been taking calls. And, their line is, here's what we want. The call gets hung up and no deal's done.
Yeah, I think that's probably where we can leave that one. It's not changing until, like you said, probably first few days of September, if I had to guess. So, all right. Anything else on the Bengals?
I think that's it for now.
The Reds are 67-61, third in the NL Central, but just one game back in the wild card behind the Mets, who have been struggling of late, Skinny. Sal Stewart, I feel like, is oddly enough the biggest storyline for the Reds this week. He's not with the team. He's down in AAA, just absolutely mashing. He has 7 home runs in 29 games at Louisville, including another mammoth shot last night. With Matt McClain really struggling, so much so that they put Santiago Espinal in the starting lineup for him last night.
Yep.
Should the Reds call up Sal Stewart? Should they have already called him up? What would you do here?
Yes, I call up Sal Stewart because he's earned it, and I let Matt McClain go get every day at bats in AAA to try to get himself better. I mean, I don't know what good it is for Matt McClain to not play. I mean, give me any positive to that for him or the organization for him to not play.
There is none, but what do you make of the Matt McClain situation? Because we've been very high on him. You especially love him. We saw this thing with Noelvi Marte last year where you try to come back after missing all that time and you really struggle. And then all of a sudden he's looking better again this year. Do you think it's something like that with McClain where he just took so much time off that he's rusty and he's having a hard time getting back in the groove?
And I think for Noelvi Marte, it was going down and getting some at-bats in AAA and kind of getting himself right. And I think that's what Matt McClain can do. I think that bat is still in there. And now you've seen it from Marte. I thought they rushed Marte last year when he came back off the suspension he got hardly any run in the minors. It was almost like, I was getting some bats. Okay, now you're back in the big leagues. No. And Matt McClain's coming off a full year of injury, an injury issue. And, maybe the expectations were too high that, he's just going to bounce back and be just fine. And he never was. And then all of a sudden you look up at your batting average, you're hitting 189. And what do you do at that point? You start pressing. And then you press some more. And then he did kind of right the ship for a while there. But then it started to come back again. And then suddenly the manager, and I'm again, Terry Francona is paid to try to win games. So I know he's trying to put the best lineup on the field. But, at the same time, you basically have put this kid in the corner. If you're going to put him in the corner, let's put him in AAA and get him right.
Last week, I commented on the idea of Ke'Bryan Hayes, why I didn't really understand that move because it's kind of creating a logjam in the infield where all of your top prospects are. You're paying them for the next 4 years, a decent amount of money. And somebody pointed out the idea to me of, do you think this signifies that they're maybe starting to give up on McClain a little bit, thinking that he's not a cornerstone of that infield and maybe Ke'Bryan Hayes is kind of taking over his spot potentially?
Yeah, I don't know. I still think Matt McClain is still worth a reclamation project. It's not going to happen at the big league level right now, getting 2 starts a week. If you're going to do this, send him down, be done with it, call up Sal Stewart, and let's see what that looks like.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think most people are. Do you think that they have lost confidence in Matt McClain overall,
Absolutely. Though? Absolutely they have. I mean, if you're playing, lightweight hitting Santiago Espinal because you feel like that's a better offensive option, give me a break.
Not great. I mean, that's a tough look. I think when every Reds fan looks up and sees that lineup card last night, it's like, what are we doing here?
You see the bottom third of Trevino, who played well above his baseball card earlier in the year, and it was a fun story and good for him. You see the bottom third of Trevino, Ke'Bryan Hayes, and Santiago Espinal. That feels like 10 to 12 outs right there.
It does. I mean, really. For a team that's one game out of the wild card, half game out of the wild card at that time.
Yes.
Tough. Another thing that we talked about last week, and we were both on the mindset of like, okay, Hunter Green took all this time to come back and get himself healthy. He better be ready to go. I don't want to hear about this like, I need some time to get going, or I'm a little rusty now after not pitching for a while. Skinny, he's been unbelievable in these first 2 outings. 18 strikeouts and no walks through 12 1/3 innings in his first 2 starts. 6 innings, no runs against the Phillies. 6 1/3 with 3 runs against the Angels. How much more confident in the Reds' chances of making the playoffs does Hunter Green's performance over the last 2 games?
And getting Nick Lodolo back next week, back in the rotation. Suddenly the rotation is Hunter, Nick Lodolo, Andrew Abbott, Zach Littell, and I guess Brady Singer, that puts Martinez back in that super reliever role. And he pitched a great game last night. The problem is it feels like he has 2 good starts and then just one godforsaken start, which helps balloon his ERA. But I think, man, you give me that rotation the rest of the way, I think you do overtake the Mets for the wild card spot.
I think what's your prediction? How long will it take for the Reds to jump the Mets here? Do you think it happens?
I'll say by Labor Day, another 10 days or so.
All right. Anything else on the Reds?
No.
All right. College basketball. We talked about it the last few weeks. It's been a weird situation because there was no official comments on it coming from Cincinnati or Jizzle James, but Jizzle James was putting all types of stuff out publicly on social media on his Instagram. It's finally become official. Wes Miller and the Bearcats announced that Jizzle James has been booted from UC's team due to his personal issues that he's dealing with. Now that it's official, Skinny, what are your thoughts on how this is going to work out for UC?
Yeah, I mean, they lose a good player, but I mean, I think the bottom line is the kid needs to get the help he needs. I mean, that seems pretty apparent from everything here, and hopefully he does that. He's sent out a bunch of weird messages on social media. Go back to that thing of him in the Georgia uniform. So yeah, I hope the kid gets the help he needs. But for UC, I mean, I don't have a lot of faith in the Kirk Creesa portion of the program there in the backcourt, and I just don't know. Can Day be a lead guard in the Big 12, and can he fill Jizzle James' role? I just don't know if he can. I think he has a role, obviously, and he had a big role last year. He's a good defender, takes care of the ball pretty well, all those things. But is he really any kind of a scorer? I've never seen that out of him.
Yeah, I mean, you mix Sincere Harris in there somewhere, but not as your lead guard.
He's not a scorer.
And he's not a scorer either. He's more of a defensive athlete type of player. This backcourt is interesting. And look, I'm not saying Jizzle James was all the answers to your problems either.
No, and honestly, he was so ball dominant at times that it felt like the offense just bogged down to the point of him pounding the rock for 20 seconds and then pulling up for a mid-range jump shot.
Yeah, I do think he was a bit stubborn with the way that he played. And certainly last year it felt selfish with the ball dominance that you talked about. You could see how this would lead to better offensive flow and guys having better chemistry and maybe moving the ball more. But the problem is I just don't know that they have the firepower, the scorers on offense to do much with that, even if you are getting better ball movement.
And I think you were hoping Jizzle James would take that next step, whatever that next step is, maybe a better shooter, maybe a better decision maker, maybe a better guy in the offensive flow, maybe make a few more shots. And suddenly instead of averaging 13 and change, he's averaging 17 a game because he's making a couple more shots. And I think they needed that. And now you don't have it. Again, the bottom line is, kid needs to get the help he needs. And I think that's first and foremost. But from a basketball standpoint, it sure doesn't help you.
Yeah, after his freshman year, what you saw, there was legitimate reason to believe, okay, as a junior, yeah, it was a down year as a sophomore. Maybe he took his eye off the ball a little bit in certain things and didn't focus the way he needed to and improve. But there was still potential there for him to become a really good player as a junior. I think we had seen the potential, and you wipe that out of this UC roster. And again, it feels like a do or die year for Wes Miller.
Right.
That's a tough pill to swallow. And not to mention, there's also just, it doesn't make the summer all that great for your team. You're trying to make sure, hey, okay, are we on the same page? Jizzle James has been posted over the last week, fights with Sincere Harris. He was texting back and forth with them. They're calling each other names and all types of stuff. So it's not like this isn't a rift with the team. The guys are clearly not loving how this is going down.
Yeah. I go back. Was Wes holding on to every last thread of hope that this was going to end up with him being back on this roster this year, that whatever help he was going to get it and then be able to come back and play ball and everything would be fine. And it felt like he just kind of kept holding on and holding on and holding on and then finally couldn't hold on any longer.
Yeah, and I think, if you read the release that they sent out, they said he'd been removed from the team for about a month. So it was back in July when things started going wrong. And whether you're holding on hope because you want him back or not, I think there's legitimacy on the side of UC of the guy's going through something. We're trying to help him out. That's all completely understandable, and it's good for them for doing that. But there's also everyone has a job here, right? You're getting paid a lot of money to do a job, and including the players at this point in these situations. And so there is that part of it, and you've got to do what's best for your organization and all the other guys that are getting paid. And at some point, it's clear that Jizzle was going to be a real problem for them. So you got to move on from that. And it's probably the best thing for Jizzle at this point too. Quite honestly, he probably doesn't need to be focused on basketball.
No, just use it as a workforce thing to your point. You got a great salesman, but he started to get liquored up constantly, was liquored up on the job. And, you were holding on hope that he could still perform his job. And then finally when he can't, you got to go, buddy, you got to go.
Yeah. Just a tough situation all around. That's probably enough on that. We do have some Ask Anything to get into.
Yes, let's do it.
We'll start with the sports topic. Who is your actual pick to win the college football playoff, and who would you bet on?
I don't have odds. I say, do you have odds? Because I don't have odds in front of me.
Who do you like though overall, just to win it? If you were just to pick your favorite, the team that you think is going to win it this year, because they wanted the actual pick, and then also who you think.
I'm going back to the Georgia well. I know Texas is everybody's pick. They lost a lot. They lost a lot on both lines. And listen, this is not to besmirch Arch Manning, but you are turning the keys over to a guy who's played just a little bit, and he's looked good when he's played, and I think he's going to be a very good quarterback. What is Ohio State's odds? Because they have everything other than the proven quarterback, and obviously it was a quarterback competition that finally was settled here in the last week or so. You give me Jeremiah Smith in 9 Blues, and I can probably win you a lot of games. And the defense still has some good parts to it. Sonny Styles is a great linebacker. and they're always going to have dudes.
Downs,
so give me their odds.
Texas and Ohio State are the two favorites as of this morning at DraftKings at plus 550.
I like the value more on Ohio State just because this is going to sound like I'm besmirching the Big Ten, and maybe I am. Going through the SEC is a flipping gauntlet, man.
Yeah, and all of them have to prove it still at Texas. Sorry, they just do. Ohio State just did it last year.
That's correct. Yeah, and plus 550 for them is pretty good. Give me a couple other odds in there.
Penn State is at 700. Georgia is at 750.
And listen, they've got dudes. I mean, this is his best roster in my opinion.
Penn State, you're talking about.
Yeah, but it's James Franklin, man. I until the guy can win big games, I just can't do it.
Yeah, 7-1 isn't nearly rich now. Yeah. I mean, I'd need Penn State at above 10-1 for sure before I'm considering them.
I think they're great. I think they're going to be in the playoff, and they may well win it. They've got enough dudes to win it, but for whatever reason, he just hasn't gotten over the hump in big games.
Georgia is plus 750. That's the team you originally mentioned. Clemson is 1,000. Alabama's 1,000.
That's a good sneaky one.
Clemson or Alabama?
No, Clemson. And because they got the quarterback, they've got dudes again. I know everybody made fun of Dabo, didn't like the portal, but listen, Dabo's a really good coach and knows what he's doing. They got defense. They got a couple of first-round defensive linemen, at least projected first-round defensive linemen. So that's a good one to me. And plus, the ACC isn't very tough. It's their opener. They open with LSU. Boy, I'd love to wait to see that game before making that bet. But then my fear would be after that bet, they go to like 7-1 just because they've overcome maybe their biggest hurdle of the season.
Yeah. What's your feeling on Notre Dame at 12-1?
I don't see it. I don't think they have enough dudes I think they'll be back in the playoff again because they are Notre Dame. And part of their schedule is an ACC schedule. I don't see it.
Yep. All right. Here's the other football topic. It's kind of college football, kind of NFL, I guess. Do you think Jim Harbaugh should be penalized for the NCAA's rulings? I saw Urban Meyer mention this, that he felt like Jim Harbaugh should be held accountable for the NCAA's findings against Michigan.
Listen, I know people are going to go, well, that's a former Ohio State coach. Of course he's going to be on the Michigan guy. But he cited a precedent. But back in 2011, Jim Tressel got hired by the Indianapolis Colts, and he had to serve a 6-game suspension tied to what happened to him in college. So if you're going to do it to him, why wouldn't you try to tie something to Jim Harbaugh?
Yeah,
him getting a 10-year show cause in college means only that means to me is he's going to coach in the NFL at least for the next 10 years. That's literally all that means to me.
Right. It means some college football program that's some powerhouse that's downtrodden in year 11 is going to be hiring Jim Harbaugh. That's Absolutely. What that means.
No, that's exactly right. And so
come back to college tour.
What penance is he paying?
None at all, which he knew. That's why all of this worked out the way it did. Is there some type of clause or rule in the NFL about coaches and the way they care, like there is for players, like there's the conduct policy.
I'm sure there is. Yeah,
could they tie it to something like that? I'm wondering, and still penalize him.
I would say I'd like to have the NFL make a comment on this. Of here's the reason why we're not going to penalize him. Or
they should.
It's been brought to our attention, and we've looked into this, and we're going to suspend him for the first whatever.
And let's be honest. I mean, this is a lot of drama, but like the NFL is just a big reality TV show for men, a big soap opera. They should comment on this. It's good for the reality show nature of the league, and it's just like it's something they should kind of be held accountable for. Not that it's the NFL's issue, but Jim Harbaugh's there. If they're not going to penalize him for cheating in college, then let's hear why not.
And again, so then what did that penalty do to Jim Harbaugh? Absolutely, positively nothing.
But I also think that's kind of how it works, right? Like if you decide to leave that job, then I mean that whole league and organization and everything else, then how can you be held accountable? Really,
I get it, but I'd like to see the NFL comment on why they wouldn't.
I mean, for instance, if you did something at Channel 12 that caused you to be suspended at Channel 12 for the next 5 years, but you went on to ESPN, it's not like that. You know what I mean? Like you shouldn't be held accountable at ESPN for what you did at Channel 12 necessarily.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
I guess it depends on what you did.
That's a good point.
If it follows you or not. If Skinny had to do Rick's Taco Bell challenge, which fast food joint would he pick?
Yeah, I've thought long and hard about this. Because somebody asked me that the other day. I did a radio segment with Austin Elmore on Cincy 360, and he brought up your Taco Bell challenge. He said, do you think you could do it? I said, could I? Yeah, I think I could. Would I? No, I don't think I would. As you reach into your bag of Taco Bell, give me what you've got today.
Day 21. This is the cheesy toasted breakfast fiesta potato burrito.
Wow, that sounds like a lot. It sounds like a whole lot. Take a bite
I've
of it.
been nailing the names on these things, by the way. That's probably the most impressive part of this whole deal is how good I am at the names.
I'm down with it. I'm trying to think what could I do that would be variety like. I could maybe do Wendy's every day. I'd mix it up between like a double here, a Baconator there, get a chicken sandwich. Maybe one day just go a little lighter and get a bowl of chili. I could probably do that.
Wendy's is a good option for that reason because you can bounce around the menu a little bit.
I'll tell you what I'm a big fan of, and I don't do it quite enough, is I do love me some Arby's. Now, I'm usually just a generic roast beef guy, but I could do a beef and cheddar here. I could do the Reuben there. I could do one of their chicken sandwiches, and they always seem like they look like they got good burgers. I've never had a burger, but they look good.
Have you tried their Philly cheesesteak thing?
No, and I love because my go-to place for Philly cheesesteaks is Penn Station. I mean, that's
of course.
Literally my go-to meal every time I go there. So no, I have not. So that's another option.
I've never eaten a Philly cheesesteak from a fast food joint, nor do I really want to, but I keep seeing all these people post that on social media and they seem to love it. And I just cannot picture an Arby's Philly cheesesteak being good, but I don't know.
And they got a good looking fish sandwich too. So I think you could get through a month of Arby's with a variety of things. Again, I probably would stay away from getting the curly fries every time and maybe just go sandwich only. But yeah, I think I could do that.
That's the problem with all the.
I'm not going to, mind you. I know I'm not putting my mouth where my mouth is at the moment. I think I could do that. I'm not going to do that.
I think you're safe. One thing I got to say though, as much as people have been like, "Oh, you're influencing for Taco Bell. You made me want to order it." Like I've had a bunch of people text me, "Oh, I just got Taco Bell because of you." They send me the picture of the bag or whatever. That's great. The thing that I should really be talking about more is the UDF Coke Zero though. They are on a generational run right now. I'm telling you, it is the best fountain drink of all time. And they've been at it for like 2 months, just pure crack.
Well, I drank Coca-Cola like through my college years and then into adulthood. It's like, I think I Coca-Cola'd myself out and I don't drink soft drinks much anymore. I haven't drank soft drinks for a long time. I mean, occasionally will I have a soft drink, sure, but I'm just not a big soft drink guy. But man, the fountain Coke from McDonald's used to be like the greatest drink in the history of mankind.
Yes. And if you're someone who's ever felt that way, where you like got into McDonald's fountain Coke, like, oh, it's different. Go to the UDF in Taylor Mill and get their fountain Coke Zero. I'm telling you, specifically that location in Taylor Mill, it is the best fountain drink I've ever had.
So if you bounce, you're probably not very far from the one down in Bellevue, are you? The UDF in Bellevue right there by the bridge?
Oh, yeah. I don't go to that one ever.
I know. I was going to say, why don't you bounce just to see if it's the same, though?
No, they're not the same. I've got them. Okay. I've got them all tasted out for the most part, and none of them are tasting like Taylor Mill. The next best one is actually it's not a UDF, it's the Thornton's on Dixie Highway is my next favorite Coke Zero fountain in the area.
The one down from Dixie Heights High School.
Yeah, right by Dixie Heights and the Taco Bell there. Yeah, that is the second best after UDF and Taylor Mill.
I mean, I don't know why certain places with their fountain drinks they are different.
Without question. And the UDF on Mock Road in Wilder, which is the closest one to me, was very good for the longest time. Completely fallen off. Completely fallen off. I don't know. The calibration got messed up with the carbonation and the syrup.
The ratio of syrup and carbonation. Yeah, I mean, some places just know how to do that. Again, the McDonald's was like, you could not go wrong with a Coca-Cola from McDonald's. You could not.
But you know what's stunning about it all is how inconsistent they are. Like how it can be good for a month and then just be completely trash the next. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Doesn't make any sense to me either.
All right. Last question here. If you had to build a Dan Patrick-esque morning show and could add any Cincinnati area media members, sports or non, to your crew, who are you picking?
Daynard'd be in the list. He's just got such a good sense of humor. I mean,
he's perfect for a morning show.
Yeah. He just has a great sense of humor. You know who's sneaky good and honestly, he's sneaky funny. And nobody doesn't like the guy I'm about to say. Dan Horde would have to be a part of it. And I'd have to bring Gamble back for comedic relief. I mean, he'll say enough stupid stuff that we'll just put him in his place and he'll grouse about it, but it'll still be funny grousing about it.
Would Horde want to, Horde just seems like he's too good and too professional to do a morning show.
Yeah.
Would he let loose on a morning show?
I think he would enough.
Would he be talking about you farting on airplanes and putting cologne under your nose and stuff like that's the only thing I'm concerned a little bit about.
Yeah, but you also need to have a straight guy with a sense of humor. Like I don't think he would be the outrageous guy, but he's sneaky funny, man. I'm telling you, he's a sneaky funny dude.
Tremendous personality. There's no doubt about that. I mean, like you said, no one doesn't love the guy. So,
and then I bring in Jeremy Rao because he could be our punching bag, right?
Quite literally, the most punchable face in sports media.
I like Jeremy. I hope everybody understands that I do like Jeremy a lot.
Yeah, we pick on him a lot in this podcast to the point that I think people think like you actually don't like him.
No, I really do like Jeremy. I like all those dudes. So yeah, that's a pretty good crew.
Yeah, I mean,
what's Dan's got? What, 4 guys in him?
I think he has 4 guys back there, right?
I think
he's probably got a couple more, but 4 guys that are talking a lot.
Correct. Yeah, he may have a little bit more than that too. Like Dan Patrick's a very straight-laced guy, right? But I think he's got a terrific sense of humor to him.
Are there any non-sports people that you would want to include? Because they said sports are non.
No, I think that's probably good. I'm probably good with that. Because again, it would be a sports-oriented show, but I also would need people like, honestly, when Tom and I did a show, I always felt I was the straight-laced guy. I think I got a pretty good sense of humor. Maybe people don't think I got a good sense of humor. I think I do, and so I kind of played the straight role, let him be the knucklehead. But I could chime in with a joke real funny here and there.
Skinny, I think the whole point of that show that made it number one is the fact that you had to be the straight and serious guy. I think that's why it was so popular, because that's absurd. If you are the most level-headed person on the show, it's a wild show.
Well, when Greg Doyle, if you remember, Greg Doyle was now with the Indianapolis Star, formerly of CBS.
He just cannot stop making headlines by saying stupid stuff right now.
Correct. When he and Mo did the show, Mo asked me a couple months in, he goes, "What do you think?" I said, "I hate to tell you this, man, one of you two's got to be the straight guy. I mean, it doesn't mean you don't have to be funny. You can't have a sense of humor, but you both can't be bombastic." And obviously at that point, kind of Greg fizzled out anyway, and Mo's been very successful doing the show by himself. But if it's a 2-man show, they can't be the same person. Or a multi-person show. I
agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that for the most part. I mean, you got to have some type of contrast.
Yes,
one way or another. Yeah,
correct. And dude, he's a naturally funny guy. I mean, honestly, when my phone rings in the morning, I'm just waiting for him to bitch about something that's going to make me laugh. And it's like 8:13, like clockwork. My phone rings in the morning. I'm like, there's some mornings where I look at it and go, I can't do this right now. I just can't.
How often does Gamble call you?
Once a day. Maybe twice
every morning to bitch about something.
Yeah, this time of year not so much, because I think he's actually finally, because he's got his football event coming, so he's a little busier. But like when it's down once, I get a call almost daily about somebody who won't respond to his email, how dumb ADs and coaches are, that they're non-communicative. It's always about something. And again, like I said, I generally laugh at it, but there are some mornings where I just look at that phone and go, I can't do this.
Can't do it this morning. Ignore.
Yep. Then I'll call him back.
Of course. All right. That's day 21 of eating Taco Bell every single day during the entire month of August. Just 10 days left, Skinny. Can you believe it?
So on Labor Day, this is going to end on the Sunday before Labor Day, what is going to be your go-to meal to mix things back up? Or is it just a cookout day?
I mean, here's the problem. Last night, it was like a situation. I had eaten Taco Bell for lunch and go through the day. Wife has golf league at night, so I have the kid, put him to bed, everything. So at like 9 p.m. now, I'm thinking about, like, man, I'm kind of hungry. I haven't eaten dinner. You know what I wanted to do, honestly? Go to Taco Bell. I didn't, because I felt like that would have been bad for me, but that's what I wanted to do. So I really don't know that I won't just keep going to Taco Bell after this ends.
I would say back to the topic we had, the question we had. If I could add a non-sport, Bob Herzog would be fun.
Bob Herzog is my guy, because you can talk sports with him.
Yes,
he's a two-time sports guy, but he's also just, I mean, legitimately one of the most talented people I've ever been around. Period. Can do anything.
I'm with you on that. I can. Maybe we just have him be the news guy, but you'd also have a segment with the news guy too, right?
He's the bits guy. He'll come up with bits every day. He'll have bits going.
Yeah. I'm not a bits guy. I can't do bits, but yeah, he'd be the bits guy. That's a good call.
Your life is a bit at this point.
My life kind of is a bit, for goodness sake. I live it every day, my brother.
All right, that's all we got.
All right, next week we are going to do this probably on Wednesday, the day after Bengals cut down day, and the day before UC opens his football season with Nebraska. Of course, we've also got Ohio State and Kentucky opening on the weekend, so we'll have a gambling segment next week.
Do we need to do the last week of the Taco Bell thing in person, and you eat Taco Bell with me? Is that how we need to do it?
Ooh, you know what? So that would be next Wednesday. So I need to get something breakfasty next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday. Well, maybe we can do it in person too. Maybe you can come down to the office in Covington. We'll just film it in person. I'll have it wait for you.
Let's discuss that off air. That actually sounds like a pretty good idea.
All right, we'll do that maybe.
All right, very good. For Rick Broering, I'm Richard Skinner. Thanks for being with us. It's been the Skinny Podcast, the weekly Potpourri edition, presented by Blake the Attorney Maislin.